Hello, this is Bobby Hesley coming to you live again. I want to make a follow-up video to the previous video that I made, which basically acknowledged the fact that Planned Parenthood just humanized the 16 to 20 million black Americans that they had a hand in killing. They just acknowledged that their organization had roots of racism, that Margaret Sanger was a racist eugenicist, and they literally said that they have a history of harming people of color. But I thought the unborn weren't people. I thought the unborn were clumps of cells. So you just incriminated yourself that you killed 16 to 20 million people. I demand reparations. As an African American, as a black man who is a member of the black community, I demand financial, economic reparations from Planned Parenthood. And I'm going to read my list of demands because I'm going to detail the actual economic damage that has been done by Planned Parenthood. I've written it down here. So pardon me if I'm looking off camera for most of this video because the numbers don't lie. So first off, let's talk about the language of reparations. Now, we've been hearing lots of talk about reparations that need to be passed for slavery that ended 200 years ago. We had the Asheville City Council of North Carolina that just passed legislation for reparations, okay, for something that happened 200 years ago. Well, I want reparations for something that's happened in my lifetime. I want reparations for something that's directly impacted my current generation. So here's my list of demands. So I'm going to give you some hard numbers, and I'm going to use the reasoning of slavery reparations to basically outline my abortions reparations demands, okay? Because the thought with slavery reparations is we did all this work, we're owed $14 trillion, according to Robert Johnson, the founder of BET, of Black Entertainment Television. Which, by the way, I wonder what would happen if there was a network called WET, White Entertainment Television. Do you think that'd go over very well? Why are blacks able to have a network called Black Entertainment Television, and they can do that with total impunity and get a pass? Why not White Entertainment Television? How well would that go? But I digress. So, based on the slavery reparations number model, we're owed around $14 trillion for all of the unpaid labor that we did in America since basically 1619 until the Emancipation Proclamation, okay? Which, by the way, I've done plenty of videos showing that black people had a hand in that. Some of the wealthiest slave owners in American history were blacks. And in the state of South Carolina, the wealthiest slave owner was a black man named William April Ellison, which I'm going to do a whole separate video on. Stay tuned for that. In my hashtag Real Black History series, I'm going to really go into that. But suffice it to say, I'm going to use the economic model of slavery. Now, I pulled these numbers from this website, as you can see here, from Black Economics, Black Demographics. And here's what I'm going to base my demands on. I'm going to base my demands on the fact that the average working American, we're going to say that they work for 40 years. The retirement age as of now is 65 years old. So let's give people some room to go to college, get their degree, find the kind of career that they like. And let's say people officially start working when they're 25 years old. Again, that's leaving room for their degree. That's leaving room for a little bit of vocational discernment about what profession, what trade, what business they want to take up, okay? Most people start working much younger than the age of 25. I mean, I started working when I was 12 years old. I had a lawn business in Brightmoor. But we're just going to be very conservative, okay? We're going to be very moderate, very conservative with these numbers. And they're still going to astound you. They are going to blow your wig back. So let's start. So the average black American earns $41,361 per year with their profession, okay? So, you know, it's about 42 grand a year. Now, we multiply that by 40 years. They start earning $41,361 when they're 25, and they retire from that 40 years later when they're 65, and maybe they start collecting Social Security. So over their lifetime, and again, these are based on aggregate averages, okay? Some people make more than this, some people make less, but this just averages out the income of the black demographic. So over the lifetime, the average black person earns $1,654,440, okay? So about $1.6 million is what the average black American earns over their working lifestyle, okay? Now, how do we get to the next number? So how many black Americans are there? Well, According to the most recent U.S. Census Bureau, there are 328 million Americans, 328.2 Americans, and the black population is actually 13.4% of the American population, which comes out to approximately 44 million black Americans. Okay, are you following me? So there's about 44 million of us African Americans. Now, if the average black American earns $1.6 million over the course of their career from the ages of 25 to 65, and there are 44 million of us, then that actually gives you how much money we are owed. Now remember, Robert Johnson said that we're owed about $14 trillion for slavery reparations. He was way off, because the amount of money that we're owed for our abortion reparations that are due to us, that have killed 16 to 20 million of us, here's that number. Not even Siri could tell me. 33 trillion, 88 billion, 800 million dollars. We are owed $33 trillion in abortion reparations. When you multiply the 20 million black Americans that have been murdered with abortion, that have been targeted, which Planned Parenthood just acknowledged, that they have targeted black Americans since their founding, that they are rooted in eugenics, they are rooted in racism. They just acknowledged that. And in doing so, they also just acknowledged the humanity of the unborn blacks that they killed. They just said, you know, all this clump of cells business, all this fetus business, they were humans the whole time, because they literally said that they impacted people of color, not fetuses of color, not clumps of cells of color, not inanimate objects of color, people of color. And it's starting to rain here, folks. So apologize if you see water running down my face. But that's a fact, guys. That's how much money we're owed. $33 trillion in reparations, based on the slavery reparations model. Now, it doesn't stop there, though, because once black Americans reach the age of 65, they have a right to collect Social Security, because they've been paying into it the entire time they've been working. And again, we're going to be conservative and say that they had been paying into Social Security since the age of 25. They paid into it for 40 years. So how is Social Security determined? Well, there's this little tax called the FICA tax. You all know what FICA is. And the FICA tax is 6.2%. So if you look at the average annual earnings of a black person, again, I'll pull that number back up. It's $41,361 times the 6.2% of the FICA tax. That comes out to $2,564.38 per year that working black Americans contribute to Social Security. Now, if you extrapolate that into a 40-year career of when they pay their FICA tax every year from the age of 25 to 65, that's 40 years times the 2564.38. That comes out to around $102,575 and some change per black American. Now you multiply that $102,575.20 times the approximately 20 million blacks that have been murdered. Again, they're colored people according to Planned Parenthood. They're not clumps of cells. They're not fetuses. They are colored people that have been harmed, that have been killed. You multiply that by the 20 million, and that comes out to, look at this, almost $3 trillion on top of the $33 trillion that we're owed for all the wages that have been lost. Again, the slavery reparations model is based on retroactive wages that we are owed, that we should have been paid, that we were not paid due to slavery. Well, you remember I told you all the parallels between slavery and abortion? There's quite a few. What legalized institutional slavery? Why was Anthony Johnson able to legalize slavery? Because the first black slave, John Cassor, was not considered human. Right? They call that that blacks were only considered 3/5 human. So because blacks were quote unquote not quite human, they were able to be traded as slaves, rented, bought, sold, traded as what's called chattel. It's the same reasoning that allowed abortion to be legalized. When Roe v. Wade passed, it basically said that fetuses are not quite human, that fetuses are not human. So because they're not human, they can be killed, they can also be sold. So not only did Planned Parenthood kill 16 to 20 million black Americans, which they acknowledge are colored Americans, they said in their statement, but they also sold our body parts, which is another acknowledgement of their humanity in the womb. Because if we're not humans, why sell our body parts?
Planned Parenthood is accused of some disturbing crimes today. Anti-abortion activists released an undercover video filmed last year. It claims to show a senior official discussing how the organization sells aborted baby parts. Activists posed as potential buyers.
We've been very good at getting parts on liver because we know that, so I'm not going to crush that part. I'm going to basically crush below, I'm going to crush above, and I'm going to see if I can get it intact.
Commercial sale of fetal tissue is illegal under federal law. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal and Texas Governor Greg Abbott have ordered investigations.
Right? If those things inside of the womb are not members of the human race, why would you harvest and sell their body parts on the black market to human body parts traffickers if they're not human? If we're just giraffes or dolphins or insects and anything but human, then it's useless. It's worthless to sell our parts unless we're human after all, which you finally acknowledged, you criminals, you racist eugenicist criminals. You finally acknowledged our humanity. You finally contradicted the pseudoscience of the 1973 Supreme Court by actually acknowledging that colored Americans have been harmed by the eugenicist policies of Margaret Sanger. But my reparations don't stop there. So not only are we owed $33 trillion in lost wages and then some, not only are we owed another over $2 trillion for everything else, for the FICA tax, for the Social Security, because there's a lot of blacks that aren't going to be able to collect Social Security now because, again, 20 million of our people have not given a chance to contribute to Social Security. So we'll just round it up to about $36 trillion that's owed. However, if we're going to hit that reparations lottery, there's other reparations on top of the economic reparations that I demand, that we as blacks demand, and those reparations are this. I got my list here. Then you're also going to need to pay us some accompanying reparations, what I call education reparations. And I'm not talking about the college grants and the college scholarships and the affirmative action that blacks have had access to for many decades. I'm talking about financial literacy reparations, to where black people as a whole are taught how to manage money, how to budget, how to have good credit and not go into a bunch of debt, how to repair their credit if they've gotten it in trouble so that they can become homeowners, so that they can be fundable, so that they can start businesses of their own, which leads to the next form of educational reparations, which is how to start a business, which I thank President Trump for his opportunity zones, where there's a 40% increase in black-owned businesses since President Trump came up with the opportunity zones for inner cities and various metropolitan areas.
We need help. We need help.
A food desert filled with vacant homes. Those are the problems the people of East Baltimore want help with.
We need a place for the shop. We don't have a market here right now.
We need green,
yes,
grass, pretty green grass and everything. And our bishop, he's been working diligently hard to try to rebuild the community with the dilapidated homes in the community,
yes,
and rebuild the homes so that, you know, we have affordable homes for people to live in.
Pastor Dante Hickman has been developing the area around his Southern Baptist church for years. Today, he stood next to President Donald Trump, putting ink to paper to incentivize an estimated $100 billion to all 50 states, creating the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council.
We're drawing investment into neglected and underserved communities of America so that all Americans, regardless of zip code, have access to the American dream.
Of the 8,700 zones in the country, 150 are in Maryland. Over 40 of them are in Baltimore. In communities like Hickman's, where he has already torn down vacants and put up affordable living for the elderly, ready to show how far some help can go.
Baltimore is prepared to be a demonstration project for a national urban revitalization strategy. We look forward to working with your administration on rebuilding opportunity in our urban communities that have suffered from disinvestment and dilapidation for decades.
Because it's not enough to just give us this big payout. We could self-destruct with all that money. Because it's a fact that 70% of lottery winners, and here's some statistics for you, end up being off in much worse financial shape than they were. They end up going bankrupt, and they end up being much worse off than they were before they hit the lottery. So if we're going to get this reparations lottery, we need to be able to be taught the financial literacy management to be able to handle it to where we can turn it into generational wealth. Because for everybody who's behind reparations, they're all about generational wealth that was stolen from us, right? All the general wealth, the $14 trillion that BET owner Robert Johnson is talking about, of generational wealth that was stolen from us from generations of slaves ago. Well, what about all the generational wealth that was stolen from us through abortion? And what about all the generational wealth that will further not pass on if we get these abortion reparations and we have no clue about what to do with all the money? We need to be educated on how to handle it. Funds need to be set up trade schools in minority neighborhoods, financial literacy centers that can teach black people how to manage their money so that they don't self-destruct if and when they get their abortion reparations. And I just want to issue one final challenge for what I coin the 3 W's. This is a phrase that I'm coining that I want it to go viral. I want us to start a hashtag of what I call 3 W's. And this is my call out to you 3 W's. And I'm not talking about the World Wide Web. I'm talking about all you woke white warriors who are pushing for these reparations. All you woke white liberals, all you woke white warriors who are posting on my Facebook wall, who are DMing me. I've been getting DMs from people, which is going to happen when you put yourself out there and you make videos. You're not going to please everybody. In fact, you're going to make a lot of people angry to the point where they want to contact you privately. So all you woke white warriors that are pushing for these slavery reparations, I also want to see you push for these abortion reparations. Help us get our $36 trillion that is owed to us by Planned Parenthood and by the abortion industry as a whole for the 20 million black Americans that they have admitted targeting, that they have admitted having racist and eugenicist motives for targeting. People of color, they call us. Not fetuses of color, not clumps of cells of color, not unviable tissues of color, but people of color. So I want to see how honest you are and how consistent you really are when it comes to these reparations. I want abortion reparations because they have impacted our community, they've impacted our current living generation. We are missing a huge gap of wealth from Social Security, from the 20 million black of Americans that have not been able to contribute to it because they were not able to be born, they were killed in the womb. And we are missing $33 trillion of lost wages that these 20 million black of Americans could have earned over their lifetime based on the salary averages that I gave you. So are you really for reparations? Do you really believe black people of current generations should be compensated for what happened in previous times? Because if you're consistent with that, whether it's slavery or whether it's abortion, and I drew all the parallels between slavery and abortion, that both of those crimes, both of those travesties, both of those scourges of our American society are built upon stripping the black person of their humanity. Whether it's them being 3/5 human or whether it's them not being human because they're still in the womb. I want to see if you truly believe in reparations. I want you to get behind me. I want to see how woke you truly are, or if you're just trying to peddle 2020 election talking points to get Donald Trump out of office, which is what I suspect, because I can almost guarantee that you're not going to be in favor of these abortions reparations, which means that you share in that racism, you share in that eugenics of Planned Parenthood. You're happy with the fact that millions, tens of millions of black Americans have been murdered at the hands of this self-admitted racist eugenicist organization. How woke are you? Prove it to me, you woke white warriors, and help us get our abortion reparations. I'll see you on the next video.